down with OTC? Down with OTC. OTC. Are you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Down with OTC. Down with OTC.
I'm down. Who's down with OTC?
Down with OTC. Holy crap.
Who's down with OTC?
That's the way to start.
Way to start, man. I always get like a little dance going.
That's awesome.
And then that song is stuck on my head for 2 days.
Sweet.
I hope it's the same for everybody else, but I can't be 100% sure.
Don't know. But you know what I can be sure of?
Magic.
Magic.
Here we are on the round table on a holiday weekend in the U.S. So everybody had usually four days, 7 days, something like that. We had a time off. We had Thanksgiving on Thursday, which we all had a great time with the turkey bomb drug, man.
Turkey fest.
Turkey knocked me out every single day.
That was awesome. But anyhow, this is the round table. This is Jeff over here, co-host Chip over there, and we are going to get into it. We want to talk a little bit about digital assets today because the digital assets, the cryptocurrency, the XRP, the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, and all those other assets that are floating around out there in the ones and zero land is what we want to get into and talk about. I want to talk a little bit today about a possibility, or maybe not, of a decoupling of the altcoins from the Bitcoin. It might be now, it might be never. I think that's a pretty good topic.
Now or never. It reminds me of a song, Jeff. I'm going to be honest with you. So, yeah, I think we should do that. Ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
And now, the roundtable with Jeff and Chip on the chain.
On the chain. Here we
On
go.
the chain.
What do you want to dive into first? So many great topics to talk about. You know, I would like to talk about, how about let's talk a little bit about Flare, Spark Token, and the fact that people, for some reason, they have just, I don't know if they imagined that someday Coinbase would come around magically, but I don't ever see Coinbase. They're not someone that's like, they don't like to play the same fair reindeer games. You know, it's like they're always off doing the custody thing now that they've got like $3.5 billion, the equivalent of 300 billion USD in custody. So I don't know, Jeff, why were people, who was thinking that Coinbase would support this?
I don't know. You got to take that off. My laptop's dying.
I think what?
I forgot my charger. Let me go find my charger.
All right.
My laptop's dying. You
all right,
take it
I'll
off.
Yeah,
take it off.
I'll sell it.
All right.
There we go. So, but anyway, the whole point of this thing was, you know, Coinbase, and this is another big shocker for, I think, for not only for me, but for everybody else. You think about the fact that we heard that Binance is going to support the Flare Spark drop, right? And you're like, okay, that makes sense. So it would probably be a no-brainer that Binance.us would also support it. And when we had Catherine Coley, who is the CEO of Coinbase.us, you know, we'd asked her, and it was pretty early on. I think we had her on in maybe August, maybe late July, August, and she said she would look into it. Now, the thing is that Catherine Coley is an ex-Rippler, right? She used to work, she was at Ripple for 2+ years. And so I find it weird that they're not going to support. So if you're on Binance, if you're still on Binance, if you're in the US, you can't be. I think they gave us like less than 14 days, they would kick you off. But if you were on Binance.us, don't expect the Flare, that they're not going to support the Flare Spark token drop. So you need to figure out a new place to go. If you have coins sitting there over on Binance, or I would say on Coinbase, because maybe you have some sitting over there or trickles or whatever, I don't know. But any XRP you have sitting there, you're going to want to find another home for it. You know, find some place it's a supporting one. Something like, you know, an Uphold.
Celsius.
Celsius is a good alternative. You know, that's if you look at US-based exchanges, something like a Celsius. Other types of exchanges which we know are supporting the drop include BitTrue, something like that. But make sure you guys are looking because, you know, we're getting into, we're talking about, what is it, the 12th, right?
Coming up.
And it's coming up soon. You'd be like, well, I got plenty of time, because that's what I was saying. I got plenty of time. So if you have a ledger, there's a couple things you have to do. There's a lot of great tutorials out there to figure out how to prepare your ledger. And also, Wietsubin's, he's got his Zum wallet, XUMM, if you can download it from the Google Play Store or the Apple, you know, App Store. You can download that too, and that also will support the Spark token drop. But you got to be careful. But don't sit around, because if you do it on the 13th, the snapshot is already going to occur, and then it doesn't matter. Now, I don't know when people are going to get the coins, Jeff. They haven't defined when you're actually going to get it. I don't know if they're all magically going to drop, like when Santa flies around on Christmas and he drops things into, like, for good boys and girls down the chimney.
Didn't they were going to do it over time? They're just going to kind of sprinkle them every so often?
I think so. I think it's a big undertaking. They take the snapshot, then they got to go through that, then they got to start, you know, figure out. It's a pretty big undertaking, because they still have to know at the time they take the snapshot, they have to know where the coins are sitting. So let's say, for example, an Uphold. Uphold has a wallet address, then you have the sub addresses. What are those things called again? Help me out in the chat, guys. I forget what it is. The tag. Yeah, the tag, right? So you might have one
tag.
general
Right.
sort of a you know, wallet address, and you have your individual tags. Well, when they take that snapshot, they see how many coins are there. They don't know whose they are per se. So we've been told, right? Oh, 15% up front, right?
And then the rest over the next 34 months, dude, that's forever. I'm gonna forget about it.
34 months? I think he meant 3 to 4 months. No, and there's no way it's going to go 34 months.
34 months. People
Like
34 months later, they'll be like, remember Flare? I'll be like, Flare what? Who? What is
I don't
Flare?
think
But isn't the whole Flare network, isn't it a smart contract? So shouldn't they be able to like bake in this whole thing with smart contracts?
Well, here's the other thing I don't think people are thinking about. So let's suppose the person that gets it on like the 15th of December, or let's just say the 1st of January, right? And there's no, the Spark token doesn't have any worth, right? There's no value assigned to it. But let's suppose the person that gets it after March, it's now worth, I don't know, let's just say 25 or 30 cents. okay, so now you've got this taxable sort of event that just happened, and now you're gonna be liable for that the next year, which is kind of weird. So it could be as it changes. Is it 34 months?
Dude, that's
All right.
crazy.
All right,
I'm not
that's a
so
little
excited.
bit. I'm not. Nobody's excited. 34 months.
Texas crypto not moving around for 15%. 15% distribution. I mean, come on. You can just seems so easy. I don't know. Maybe
That
not.
seems
But
awkward.
34 months, way too slow. Gotta look that up.
I had to look it up right now, Jeff. I'm like, it doesn't make sense because I usually monitor their tweets, and when they come out, they are talking about who's going to support it, who's not going to support it. But at some point, look, in order to create, to use the Spark token inside of a smart contract, it's going to have some kind of a value assigned to it, right? It's not going to be like a magical Spark token. It's got to have some sort of value. It's got to carry a value. Now, right. Otherwise, if there's no value attached to it, does anybody really care? I mean, yeah, you can use the Spark one to go ahead and earn XRP, but at some point, there's still some sort of a value to it, no?
Yeah, that's
what
right.
What am I missing here?
Something there. Something going on. I don't know, but this is a lot more exciting.
Fiat leak 63. Yeah, it hasn't really moved that much.
63. It was down earlier today. It was like 58, 57, somewhere in that range. Just as a side note, now look, this had nothing to do with us whatsoever, but it came up. I was kind of scrolling through the Twitter feeds, and November 22nd, so this was a week ago, Bob Moneybags threw up a tweet here, and he said, guess the price of XRP on November 29th at 2:45 Eastern time. So that was, about 30 minutes ago. Exactly 1 week from now. I wanted to see who was the closest. And I was going through this. I thought it was kind of funny just to see where people's mindset was, to say, hey, here's where everything was kind of crazy last week, trying a little bit of a forecast. I mean, we had nothing to do with any of this. I don't even know if I had commented other than seeing some of the funny, some of the responses here, but it was crazy. 78 cents, 62 cents. I think Moonwalker out of all of them was almost like spot on. I think we were hovering at 62, 63 cents about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, Moonwalker's based in West Palm, by the way.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Pretty sure.
Congrats to Moonwalker, because as I scrolled through this, Connie was right there with 61 cents. So Connie, you were almost spot on. Look at that. Yeah, right 61 cents. Really, really close in that. But there, look at this. Some people up here in the dollars. Yeah, $1.22, 70 cents. We had some 92 cents in here. I like Jungle's right there. No idea, but I'm hoping for 589.
I'll say 589 seems like we'd have to make an appearance in there. By the way, I want to do a big shout out to Palmer XRP, who's monitoring us right now, but not currently in the chat. And of course, the very first one here with the magic was Tony Fisk. So
Tony Fisk.
None of your business. XRP Army, none of your business. Bruh, XRP came in. Kelly Slade, Wade Hutchins. What else we have? Of course, Connie.
There you go.
I should say Holly Molly. Is it Holly Molly? It looks like Holy Moly will be spelled differently. So that's why I always kind of a little bit.
Holy moly.
Then we have, of course, we have Texas XRP, I believe, is in here somewhere. Wen Mullet, of course, Wen Mullet.
Wen Mullet's here. Yeah, we might even meet up with Wen Mullet on Thursday.
Maninder Nanda's in here.
Goes.
Hey, can anybody tell me which app for buying most of the cryptocurrencies in the USA?
Who said that? Throw that up on the screen?
Yeah, let me throw it up there. I didn't have the, let's see, I got to find it in here. That was up there. It was way.
That's way up at the top.
Was it? Did you find it?
No, I had seen it as I was things were going through. Let's see here. I don't see it.
It's always hard to find the thing. You don't either.
After the fact, it's gone now.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Bam.
There you go. So Maninder Nanda, which app for buying most of the crypto in the U.S.? So there's a number of them, but I think the two most popular have always been Coinbase and Uphold. Coinbase is getting a really bad rap right now for many different reasons. which pushes, I think it's going to push a lot more people over to Uphold, but Uphold doesn't have a lot of different options.
Tokens, no.
Right? It's very limited on the options, but even Coinbase has a larger selection. But that pushes you over to, I think, some of the others. Chip,
Binance.us also has a pretty decent selection too. Like they have like HBAR over there, and there's some other ones you can buy there. And then of course, the very XRP friendly exchange, which is Bitrue. Usually you have to have there are multiple pairs to be able to go and find something with. So
XRP holler for life. Binance.us has the best selection in the US.
Yeah, selection wise, they do have.
Definitely has a good one. Yep.
However, Jeff, they are not supporting the Spark, the Flare Spark drop. So that's kind of weird.
True. But yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, Binance.us is not supporting the Flare drop. Just to reiterate what Chip just said. Tony Fisk, Uphold, you get more for your money. It's interesting. Yep.
Yeah, it comes down to fees too. So fees have something to do with it, a little bit something to do with it.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
When mullet, when not mullet.
Did you see this yet? Check this out.
Oh, 64. I like that.
64 cents.
Yep.
Look at this speed.
64, I like that.
Why is the US trades are just, there's a lot of them compiled together and it's slow, and Korea just seems to be moving a lot faster.
Well, Korea's up and awake, It's like you get up in the morning, got a lot of pep in your step.
Got your espresso going. And we still got some of the people late at night over there. I think got Michael's buying, Michael Atu over there in the UK. Yeah. Looks like I'm seeing some XRP dropping over there.
Yeah, Brock XRP said Coinbase got its face kicked in by the CEO to Flare Network.
Gee, that would do it. That would do it. And he still didn't add anything.
Yeah, all I know is I watched that Tyson fight the other night, and that was just sad, Jeff. I was trying really hard to watch it.
I was going to watch it, but I don't know.
It was just sad. I mean, it was like watching these two guys that I used to have a lot of respect for. They just were like two old grandpas out there trying to land a hit.
Dude, then you had that kid.
What's that kid, Jake?
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul. I was thinking of Jake from State Farm, but Jake Paul. Holy cow, did he destroy that dude.
Oh, knocked him out.
Knocked him down the first time, and the same 1-2 combination and knocked him out. Now he's calling for another fight, but
it's interesting. Fighting? Who was it?
I don't know who that was, but now he's calling out the king of who's he calling out now?
Well, he stays within the YouTube family.
No, it wasn't a YouTube thing. It was let's see, who's he gonna fight next? Jake Paul. Let's see. He fought Nate Robinson, and now he's going after the MMA dude.
Chip, you got to comment on this one. Is this the one that you forwarded to me? Did you guys see the tax accounted video? Is that the one you sent, or is it a different one?
Yeah, it was. Are we talking about the tax accountant video?
Was it like the crypto attorney, and now there's
there was a crypto attorney, and that was a fraud. Admittedly, it's like he was in and out of crypto so fast. We got some shout outs by some other prominent YouTubers, and then somebody had sent me the it's called The Accountant, and I started watching it, but I'll be honest with you, I probably got about 2 minutes into it, and then I got distracted by probably, I don't know, almost anything that was more interesting. I didn't watch it, to be honest with you. So if anybody has any feedback on that, if you guys want to comment on it, I started watching it. I don't know if the guy's an accountant or I don't know what the deal was, but I noticed for 500 subscriptions, he had something like 4,000 views or something like that on it.
No, it's bad news. Bad news. You know what video was really good, and I know you watched it, was the one with what's his last name? Michael Saylor?
Sally.
What? How do you pronounce his last name? He's the CEO of MicroStrategy. We've talked about the CEO of MicroStrategy buying Saylor. He bought $425 million worth of Bitcoin back in August and September, and he was interviewed. Great video, I thought. He really talked a lot about his mindset and moving into Bitcoin, because he was against Bitcoin a number of years ago, and he's been following it. But one of the things that he maybe didn't do with some of his corporate funding or personal funding was invest in some of the earlier technologies. and he said he wasn't going to miss out on it again. He got involved in some of the technologies. He didn't necessarily invest heavily in those technologies, dollar wise and buying their stock. But he was reflecting back and doing a comparison of where Apple and Amazon and Microsoft and Google and all these companies were a number of years ago when everyone was mocking them. When you could have bought Amazon for $300. And then he's looking at what Bitcoin is today. And I thought it was a really, overall, it was a great interview, just seeing his mindset change and explaining the rationale as to why he's buying into Bitcoin now. The one thing I disagreed with him on, though, is that he was trying to relate to other digital assets in the space. And he was saying that Bitcoin's the only one because there's 6,500 others that have tried to duplicate what Bitcoin was doing. And I don't know if that was exactly, was accurate. I wasn't 100% following his train of thought there. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. Well, you can't really discount it like that because that shows you didn't do a lot of looking into it. But I think his overarching statement was correct and spot on, basically saying that I think what he was really trying to get at, but I don't think he expressed it right. He's like, what 65 other, digital assets have tried and failed. That's not really it. I think what he's trying to say is that because of Bitcoin, because the market matured, because 11 years later, there's over 6,000 plus digital assets. I think really that's kind of the takeaway because it doesn't make sense. It's like, look, even if you look at, I know somebody asked earlier about, Ether 2.0, what our thoughts were on that. But I think that, look, Litecoin, Ethereum, there's a lot of other things going on, HBAR, VET, there's a lot of great things happening. But he also nailed the whole idea of the store of value. He says, suppose you got to give you want to hand something down to your grandchildren. He goes, what do? You put it in gold? Someone comes up to you, points this at your head, pulls the trigger, and then they take your gold. He goes, they don't do that with a digital asset, So there's a lot of different ways to skin it. But I thought for the most thing, it was one of the better interviews I've seen in a long time, except for Scaramucci, who I'm not a big fan of, because he's such a blowhard.
His
microphone was like, dude, if you're a big baller, hedge fund guy, please invest yourself, 200 bills and get yourself a decent. But he did come prepared, though. I did like the fact that he had a good round of questioning. He did do a lot of research prior to that, and I thought what I liked about it was he just asked questions and sat back. So I thought that part of it I really liked. But I think we need to get Saylor on here. I think we need to try to get him on the
I think we need to. Yeah, we'll start reaching out to him. That guy was awesome.
And talk about the fact that we want to see, want to talk really more about the digital asset side, because here's a guy who took 50 million of his own money, and he said there was a time. So he said he wrote a book back in 2011. He said nobody read it. He said his royalties off the book were like 50 grand. Okay, it took more of his time and energy more than 50 grand, but he said, because it was all about the mobile revolution, right? It was all about everything moving from somewhere else. Now you have the camera in your hand. He said, talking about Magic Maps. Magic Maps, forget about Magic Maps. Now I've got Google Maps. He was talking about Rand McNally was a $100 million company. Now he's talking about Google being a multi-billion dollar. The point he was starting,
company.
it was billions of dollars, $100 billion company. And the whole point he was trying to make was, he said, well, he started seeing maturity. He said, if I don't invest personally, so he basically put 50 million of his own in, and the companies, which Jeff, I don't know if you realized in that interview, he mentioned Apple a lot. So he talked about Apple, he talked about Google, and he said and then he exited very shortly thereafter with 500 million. Now, whether you're in crypto or stocks, whatever you're doing, like, this is a guy who is, not too risk adverse, in the sense he's also willing to put up his own money. So when we talked about this, I think on Wednesday's stream, about the kind of money he's putting up, buying Bitcoin. He wasn't buying Bitcoin when it was $80. He wasn't buying Bitcoin when it was 7,500. He was buying in around between 10 and 12,000, and he was all in. It was like pushing all the chips in. He was all in on the table. So,
and he was ready at that point, and it just it just shows where the mindset of individuals are that are more in the know. He kind of told an interesting story of how he got into MicroStrategy, but it's really, really amazing, when we really look at, what is transpiring overall in the space. That's why, we look at, if we look at just the top three, which has been for a long time, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, Bitcoin has first mover advantage, good store of value, probably isn't going to accomplish what their objective was, which was to create and replace fiat currency using Bitcoin. Not, in the near future, or maybe never, because there's other digital assets that can do that. But when you start pulling all these together, they're really, really interesting, So looks like it's raining inside of my ceiling. Is it raining? I don't see any of that. Is that possible?
Yeah,
Oh,
for
I
some
see that.
reason, my
Oh, look at
picture.
that. There's static on my picture.
Yeah, my picture's
That's
looking really
really
bad
weird.
too. I just looked at it. It looks like it's like I know you said
Oh,
disconnect
that's
your first
bizarre.
stuff.
Yeah, I don't
I've
know.
got great throughput, but I don't know. I have a feeling it's the software because
Yeah, could be some. I wonder if they're on
uh,
AWS.
yeah, I
Oh,
don't know.
well.
But let me
Yeah,
go out and come back in
that's
because here it looks
all right.
fine. So
All right, do that, and
let
then
me come
maybe I
back
need to
in.
do that after you do. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
let
ahead.
me
And
go
I'll
ahead.
pick it up. DNI, what is going on? Good to see you. Oh, I see that a little bit. You can see that it's just over my over the lemon tree kind of. But that's just that side of the room over there. We got one of those ceiling shower heads, the rain shower head, and it just the waters the lemon tree perpetually. So, all right. So one of the other things that I wanted to go through. Oh, let's check that out real quick. We haven't looked at this yet. Actually, we have 63. Look at that. Korea is still blowing it up. I like going back to this. I don't know what it is. I have to keep checking it out. But while Chip is doing his thing, I did want to talk a little bit about what's going on. We can look at like the central bank digital currencies, kind of the movement into the digital currency space. And what is amazing, we've talked a lot about what is happening in all these different countries. You can go over to Europe and there's kind of an expectation. They talk a little bit about the US dollar, but one I think the more surprising, because there's more chips reconnecting to AOL. You've got mail. But one of the more exciting approaches into the digital currency space, I want to say, is the UAE and Saudi Arabia. It'll be interesting to get Chip's feedback on this when he comes back in. Let me add this to the stream real quick. This was up on CoinDesk, but I think it was interesting. So bilateral. So you have Saudi and the UAE digital currency experiment showing the benefit of distributed ledgers. So they're going, they're not going all in yet. Obviously, any type of financial institution that takes place over in the Middle East also has to be Sharia compliant. And so there's going to be a little bit more inquisition into the way they roll out the technology. But I think more than that, when you see countries like Saudi and the UAE in particular, because the UAE has been doing a really over the years, they've taken a different approach. Obviously we know that that a lot of corporations go over to the UAE. A lot of people go to the UAE. It's become the playground of the rich and famous. But the UAE has also become a place where businesses are going to build. It's amazing what they build over there. But the objective of the UAE was to move their economy away from, an oil subservient economy in order to develop and move into more of the newer type of technology, into the newer economies. The UAE wanted to attract people like that. But now Saudi Arabia over the past couple of years has also kind of seen that direction, and they want to move in a different direction, and they want to be able to capture and participate in the new up and coming economy. So to see them, experimenting with the digital currency shows that they want to be ahead of the curve, which I think is really, really important. And so when you look at the piloting of it, but they've taken it a step further, because some of these central bank digital currencies are heavily, focused on centralized digital currency, having really not a lot to do with DLT or with blockchain. And so if you look at like the US digital dollar that was proposed a couple months ago by Maxine Waters and some of her cohorts, really it had nothing at all to do with crypto or blockchain, DLT, or anything like that. So to see the fact that you have the UAE and Saudi Arabia pursuing this type of an initiative really is telling. It really has a big impact on the direction that we're moving in. So hey, you know what? I think Chip is back. So let's see if Chip is going to come back into the stream and see where he's at. Nope, he still can't come in. He's having some delays over there, it looks like. I can see him waving on the little screen below. I'm not sure if StreamYard here is having some issue. I mean, that's possible. But all right, let's pull this out. Let me see here. All right, there he goes. He just disappeared into the all right, let's take a look at this. This one I think needs a lot of talking about. So this is the SEC. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let's blow it up a little bit more. Let's blow it up even further for a second. This is the SEC. This is veteran trader and chart analyst Peter Brandt is the latest figure in the cryptocurrency community to dispute the regulatory status of XRP. Now, this is already 2 weeks old, but it's interesting because this seems to be a reoccurring theme within the space as we keep going back as to whether or not XRP is going to be identified as a security. Now, it's interesting that Brad Garlinghouse came out with a statement, stating that if XRP is deemed to be a security, then regardless, Ripple as a company is going to continue to exist and will be okay. And so, obviously that could be the case with their agenda, with their objectives in terms of what they're working on. However, pretty much from the beginning, I mean, you can go back, over the past couple of years, as there's been more digging into, trying to identify whether or not XRP is a security or not. Brad Garlinghouse had come out and was fairly adamant, over a period of time that XRP is not a security. But now that we're kind of dabbling back into this conversation, Chip, here I was just talking about how this Peter Brandt has been talking about. He's trying to dispute the regulatory status of XRP, making new claims that XRP would then be a security, contrary to what we've heard, from Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz and others. Although just in the past number of days, Brad Garlinghouse came out and said that if XRP was a security, was deemed to be a security, then Ripple would be okay. What are your thoughts about that, Chip?
He's a lunatic, Jeff. It's pretty obvious. Just look at who would wear those glasses. Let's be honest. Look, I mean, you're always going to find detractors. Always going to find somebody that has a problem. There's always these guys. They're going to say, they get on their horse and it's got to be a security. Well, let me ask you this: if Bitcoin, if the SEC publicly came out and disclosed that not only is Bitcoin not a security, Ether is not a security, so then why would XRP be a security? What would make it a security? This is the part that this drives me crazy. Some of these guys, Peter Brandt, he's in and out of a lot of different things. He talks about a lot of stuff, but to me, it's like you have a high-profile guy that goes out there. I don't know how much he knows about XRP in general, but this kind of reminds me of, when you saw that interview, Brad Garlinghouse was on recently with my boy, this is your boy Anthony Pompliano, and it was a good one. Now, it was great because when he said, there was one point of the interview where Pompliano is sitting there going back and forth and having this discourse about Bitcoin, right? And Garlinghouse asked him, so you don't think that the Chinese government could take control of the miners? He's like, he looks in the screen, he's like, no. It's like, and then Garlinghouse is like, of course they can take it. I mean, of course they can take, I mean, what the hell, man? So these are one of these moments where somebody, look, it's an opinion. That's fine. Everybody has an opinion. I don't agree with it. There's other people that don't agree with it. What's TJ saying?
Look at that question right there. Is that why they waited so long for clarity? Because it's neither a security or a commodity. Thoughts?
Could be. I mean, but the whole point of this regulatory clarity is that we've been stumbling around this thing. I mean, Bitcoin's 11th birthday happened, and we're still stumbling around with there's 6,000 plus other digital assets. But this is one of the reasons that I'm super happy that the head of the SEC is stepping down way before his term ends. He's stepping down 5-6 months earlier because it's been a disaster, and because he doesn't like digital assets. Well, no one else is supposed to like them.
That's right. Nobody at all. Even though XRP hodler for life over here. If the SEC declared XRP as security, then they need to redefine what a security is. It wouldn't make any sense.
That's a good point, though, because if you go back to the security law, the SEC, the secure. I mean, what we're trying to amend are stuff that happened in the 1930s, and it's like the last time I checked, we're coming up on the 30s again in like 10 years, right? So you're talking about 90-year-old plus, regulations where there. I mean, did you have commercial air flight back then? Early 30s. Did you have mass transit like we have today? Did you have big cities in the sense that we have now? You didn't have any of that. Do you have computers? Do you have the internet? Come on, it's a joke. It's like you might as well go back to the 1700s. I mean, really, 90 years ago is the same as 300 years ago. It's kind of a pathetic thing. So,
exactly. Yeah. How about this here? Just real quick as a side, Charlie's relatively new to the channel because we saw him on the other day, which was awesome. Getting it's great when we get new subs to the channel. But he said he just stumbled into the live chat, not getting the notification, but he subscribed. So I know sometimes there's a delay because I've experienced it myself that, we post it live. I've even got the notification and all this, and I'm still not getting it. But the easiest way, if you are new, hit that subscribe button. And then after you hit the subscribe, there's a little bell notifier. And I think you have to say all notifications or something like that, and then you'll get notified every time it goes live. I think that's important. But just to shoot that out there, and then let's see, Bruh here said it's funny because days later China seized 42 billion in Bitcoin. I was listening to that earlier, Chip, and it was an interesting case because there was a trade platform over in China, and they decided to seize it. So they seized the platform, and they basically seized all the digital asset. It was what is that called? The not aggregating or whatever.
The miners?
Trade. No, it's they're kind of playing, buying and selling, through their software platform. You buy, sell on different exchanges, the same asset, or you just move it around.
Thing. Yeah.
Right, an arbitrage. That's the term. So as an arbitrage platform. China, decided that it was not going to be a legal entity, and they seized all their assets. So they seized X amount, I forgot how many millions of dollars in Bitcoin, and then they had all other digital asset as well. So that, that's what he's talking about. I'm not sure if that's exactly, because I don't know if it was in the billions, but it was definitely in the millions. So I'm not sure.
I wanted to address this one. TJ Denton said XRP isn't for us, it's for banks. XLM is for us, but they're both designed to be a currency. Yeah, I mean, when I came into this, back in Bitcoin, 2012, 2013, moving Bitcoin from the UK, moving it here, that's kind of what impressed me. The fact that it was still faster than what you could send SWIFT and bank wires and everything else. But that's a pretty common misconception that it's not for us, it's for banks. And you got to remember that with XRP, one of the use cases that was outlined is cross-border payments. Now, you don't have to be, the last time I checked, I don't believe that MoneyGram is a bank per se, and there's other companies and corporations and use cases and fintechs which will be using it. But I think I think you don't look at it like XRP is used by banks. Yeah, some banks are going to use it, but people like MoneyGram, if I want to send it to somebody, the idea of XLM, the reason the XLM founder Jeb McCaleb, the reason he jumped ship was he wanted to be more. He didn't want to be so institutional. So that's when he went off and started XLM. But he was more about consumer, and that's one of the reasons he wanted to address that part of it. But you look at him like a brother and sister, right? Similar use case, 3 to 4 seconds, being able to settle for drops and everything else. But the key difference is that Ripple is a centralized organization that really runs around. It was set up very differently. It's a for-profit company. However, the digital asset XRP is decentralized because it runs by nodes, and Ripple controls less than 20%. So they can't control it. So it is decentralized asset, centralized company, whereas the XLM is the Stellar Foundation, and Stellar Foundation is completely decentralized. So you have a decentralized organization and a decentralized asset. But I kind of feel like you got to be careful of jumping in there. I'm not saying you're 100%, you're wrong by any sense, but I'm saying that don't buy into this like it's a banker's coin, it's a this and that. Brad's talked many times that only one of the very first use cases was cross-border payments. But because of its speed and because of its adaptability, you're going to see XRP making a big transition over in 2021. Flare, I think, is going to be an enormous game changer. I think Flare, I think everybody is underestimating it because of what's happening with Ethereum and because of what that was known as the smart contract platform. What we have that's coming into our universe and what's going to bring a lot of more interest of XRP is the whole idea of creating a smart contract that's interoperable with multiple networks, that can go between, let's say, and also it can also go off chain as well. So not everything's on chain. If you have a database, you need an oracle to go off chain to be able to access data points and information. So if you say, hey, if something happens when this triggers, then I need you to then go ahead and execute the smart contract. So that's where Flare's coming in and bringing a very mature. And if you don't believe us, just read about it. Read about what other people in the space are saying and talking about Flare. Now, yeah, is it there yet? Is it 100% no? Not yet. But when it gets there, I have a feeling that we're going into yet another really good use case for XRP.
Right. Yeah, and so that's a completely different one, Chip. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just saying that this is only the first use case, and I know other startups out there are thinking about in terms of using XRP in some different ways as well. You don't have to be necessarily a banking platform to be able to go ahead and take advantage of the speed of XRP and the low transaction costs and drops.
Yeah,
so
that's
anyway,
awesome. I think that really helped. That definitely, kind of broke out, the whole explanation of where XRP comes into the equation. The XRP ledger, obviously adding a huge amount of value. Talking about Flare, how Flare is bringing a tremendous amount. Talking about the smart contracts. I think people, like you said, Chip, are definitely not seeing that point. But real quick, I just want to give a shout out. 96 people in the stream right now. If you guys want to help push this to over 100, if you guys all share it. If you're new, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. We got a lot more coming. I wanted to give a quick shout out. First, Tony Morissette has a great question here. I think we need to cover it. But just a quick shout out to somebody in the stream that's here with us right now that just came in. Got to play this. Hang on one second. Here we go. This is for you.
Come on, man. Berserker.
Is he singing English or Russian?
In English. Come on, Berserker. Girls think sexy. I'll watch. Wait, he's going to sing it. Watch. It's too funny.
My love for you is like a truck berserker. Would you like some making fuck berserker?
That's fucking funny, man.
I had to play that, man.
Berserkers in the stream.
Berserkers in the stream.
Wah, 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 wah. Berserker hates us
that's
now.
Fucking awesome. I know he's never going to come back now.
He's not going to come back in the stream. So
I play that everywhere, every possible stream. Now I can't find that. Here we go. All right, so getting a little bit serious. Tony Morris said over here, SEC might shock many investors and ban all self-custody hard wallets, including the ledger. Any thoughts on this, Chip? I think that's a really big point because there is some rumblings that Mnuchin was talking to, are they going to go above and beyond current AML and KYC guidelines, and then require that anybody that is moving a digital asset, even if, let's say you had your XRP and you want to buy a cup of coffee, that transaction is going to have to send all of your use data. And, you know, I mean, right now, if you do the ledger, I don't remember when we signed up for the ledger and setting up if there was a KYC. I don't remember that part of the process.
Well, to move,
you remember that?
To move it, well, not for a cold storage device. I mean, basically, you know, once you set up your seed words and once you set up a password and all that, you know, no, I mean, you don't have to worry about that. But anybody could send it somewhere, so you got to be able to track the transaction, right? But look, I mean, that's possible. Is it probable? I don't think so. But I think the scarier thing more people should be worried about are the central banks moving into digital currencies. I find this to be very problematic. There was a phenomenal article I sent you earlier, Jeff. I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing, but it talked about the danger zone, about the I'm gonna see if I can locate it. But this said we talk about all of the things that are going on with the with this quantitative easing, right? The quantitative easing started in 2009.
That was good. That was
so
good.
the at the time they were going like, oh my gosh, the inflation is going to go through the roof. So what they're basically sort of hypothesizing is the fact that the inflation is going to hit on the digital currency side, right? And then who's going to pay for that? The little guy, the little one. And so when we talked about, and this is something that was brought up a little bit earlier with question we just had up there, we're talking about the idea of who is the one's going to be holding the bag, right? So if you have a digital asset, I still think that self-custody is a way. You cannot stop Bitcoin. You can ban it. You can do whatever you want to it. It's open source. It's replicated everywhere. You can't wipe it out. You won't be able to kill it. It's already done. So a lot of the stuff is a little bit too late to the game. I don't see them ever doing that, because then they're going to have to do is ban, you can't keep cash at home. Now, some countries have done that. Some countries have, like India, have fleshed out certain denominations because there was too big of a black market, and they killed that problem, but they created other problems. So is it possible? I think everything's possible. But is it probable? I don't think so, because then you have to look underneath. Then everything else is a fair game, right? If it's an exchange of, it's not the same as a currency like fiat, but if it's an exchange of value, then what? Then you can't keep gold in your house in a safe. Then you can't keep, you know, almost everything else is going to fall in line and apply. It's an interesting sort of a problem. I don't think that's what's coming. I really don't, because blockchain scares the hell out of a lot of governments, and it should, and it should scare a lot of banks. I mean, banks being able to custody it is good, but banks don't like it. Don't kid yourself. Banks do not like digital assets. It's coming for them, and they'll be the last ones to know. All banks will fail. I mean, this was brought up in that interview we watched earlier, but they all failed, Jeff. I mean, it's not like anybody's going to really want to move on with that. So
yeah, yep. Yeah, here you go from Morton. Crypto became a national security issue the moment USD's status as world reserve currency becomes threatened. Money printing will then have real sudden consequences. I think there's definitely something to be said about that, and the transitioning. The question is, you know, who's being threatened? You know, and obviously, you know, from a national security perspective, which is the same reason why there'll never be a global currency. No. Any self-respecting sovereign territory will never allow a global currency to exist, because part of your sovereignty is being sovereign within your economy, your economics, your currency, which is exactly why when the EU came together and they rolled out the euro, which is why the UK never fully went over to the euro. Obviously Ireland did, England didn't, you know, Scotland didn't, but that was some of the tension. We also saw the conflicts, you know, within the economies in Europe because of the rollout of the euro. Some did well, some suffered significantly. It took years, you know, but that's not really the point with all of this. I think overall it's that sovereignty, I think, is the most important. You know?
Yeah, and also too, you know, look, we already see that there's a big push to get away from, you know, the USD, but, you know, look, if you want to fall on the sword, you can fall on the sword, right? So if you don't want to trade in something that has a status and universal, and I'm not defending it, nor am I not defending it, but what I'm saying is that there's two sides to every coin. And in this case, it's like, okay, so you don't want everybody trading in USD, but we have the same sort of thing that happens with language, right? Language, we all, you go somewhere into the deepest, jungle somewhere, somebody knows a little bit of English, and this has largely to do with the fact that the English Empire at one point, the British Empire, never set on the British Empire because the British Empire was everywhere, right? So because of this colonialism and because of that was dispersed, you had this common language. You don't have to speak English. You can speak French. You can speak Spanish. It's good to know. I mean, but the point of having this asset, sure, go ahead, get off the USD. We already see that China's making a play. We see that they're trying to roll out their digital dollar. I don't think there's a lot of takers, only because they're brand, right? They're hammer coming down on Tether.
Yeah, what do you think of that? I didn't see any statement on that other than yesterday morning in the live stream I was talking about how much money is now sitting in Tether. Let me see.
Big,
Tether,
it's big market cap, man.
Total market cap. I want to say it was 17. Wow, went up. It's now 17. Well, this is November 6th, but what I pulled up yesterday, it said 16 billion.
I have 19 billion here.
17 built, yeah, so 17, 18, 19 billion, whatever that exact number is in market cap. That means that they've printed that, minted that many USDTs for, is it USDT? Is that it is. USDT is Tether. So they've minted that many and they're holding that much in currency. That's amazing. That just shows, how massive that is.
But Jeff, look at the volume.
Tethers out there.
Look at the 24-hour volume.
Terminology.
On what? On Tether, USDT.
What is it right now?
42 billion. What is it? 42. How can that be higher than the actual market cap? Well, it could be because if you're going in and out of it, are you seeing the same number I'm seeing?
I'm going to pull it up over here. Hang on.
I'm looking at 24 billion on Bitcoin. I'm looking at 13 billion on Ether, and then I've got 10 billion on XRP in the 24-hour volume. I'm just looking at CoinGecko, which usually has pretty decent data.
This is going to take a little bit to start moving. What's going on here? Maybe the Fiat
Jeff.
Elite doesn't like the Tether.
Well, it's sitting at $1, so that's the good news. You know what I like about that? When you look at the chart, it goes up and down, but it's always red, right? It doesn't matter if it goes up a little bit, goes down, because it never really passes $1. So sometimes it's like 99 point something, and right now it's sitting at $1.
$1. Someone else brought up Ethereum because Ethereum is kind of going crazy, and you can kind of see this. Damn, and I pulled this up again. I did it in Chrome. I know I should be using the Brave browser. I'm marketing these guys right here for free.
Yeah, use Brave.
You're welcome.
Man.
I know, I forgot.
2.1%, Jeff. I need to do that. Lending tree.
Must be awesome. Must be real. Look at $588. That's pretty good. Look, it's all U.S. based. There's just a little bit kind of scattered around other places. That's the Ethereum. Nice. That's pretty awesome. Pretty cool. All right, so yeah, that's that on that one. Here's another one. GDLT, 87% of payments by 2023 through ISO 20022. Only DLT, so part of the ISO 220,022, whatever, however you want to say that. Standard body is Ripple. So,
yeah, well, the 222, it's like everybody has to get compliant on that, the ISO 222. And so part of the thing is we discovered that Swift came out and said they're going to miss the deadline. But when did they say they're going to miss the deadline? A month before? No, a year and a half before that. They're still like, well, there's no way we're going to hit the deadline on this.
Yeah, you got to love that.
So you got to love it when you know a year and a half in advance that you're not even going to make it. Like, no, throw the towel in. There's no way we're going to make it.
And they said that before they knew the deadline. We're going to miss the deadline. We didn't even tell you what the deadline was. Yeah, well, we're going to miss it. Well, what is it? And they tell a year and a half. No, we're missing it.
So Russell Cohen has a question, and he's saying, hey, explain to the XRP army that they're living a dream world, that XRP will go past $3. I don't know if I agree with that, because the fact that it already has gone past $3. So to say that it won't, I mean, 384, I believe, is the number. I mean, it depends on what exchange you were looking at, but no, that's the all-time high, 380 something. So the thing is, Russell, it's already gone there. So can it do it again? Well, if it's already done it once, it can blow past that. So it is possible. Jeff,
Yeah,
thoughts?
possible. Yeah, I think that's the difference. Is that, can it? Has it? It has. Can it happen again? It could. Is it? I don't know. That I think that's the big question. What we do know is that Bitcoin is pushing to hit 20,000. Everyone said it would never hit 20,000. Everyone said it. Every stage of the game. I'm looking at Ethereum. Ethereum at its height was what, 1,500. Now it's sitting at 588. What I can kind of speculate on, not saying that this would happen, but I can speculate that if Bitcoin goes over 20,000 again, hits 25,000, some of these other analysts are predicting 10 times, 20 times in value on Bitcoin. The one thing that they're speculating, so we can speculate on their speculation, if Bitcoin's 180,000 or more, or let's say it hits the 25 or 30,000, what's that going to do to the rest of the market? One of the things that we said, is it possible for there to be a decoupling? Right now, the whole market kind of ebbs and flows together. That's like a decoupling of the foreign currency market. A lot of the foreign currencies are tied, in some ways to the dollar, and some ways to other things. But there's always kind of an ebb and flow in certain segments, in certain sectors, different industries. If you look at the stock market, But here, I think same thing. Bitcoin's going, Ethereum's moving up, XRP is going to move with it, because it's in that current. It's going to happen. Otherwise, it's just going to go away. If Ethereum goes to 1,000, instinctively, people, retail as well as institution investors, right, they're going to look at the next one and say, wow, if these are all moving, it's in that flow, in that rhythm, why not put more into XRP? With that same logic, why is Litecoin going back up? Why is Litecoin up 9%? Why are any of them up at this point? So that's, I think it's the ebb and flow. So once that happens, to say never, that, why be invested in this space at all? Does that mean that, do you believe that Bitcoin is going to go over 20,000, or is it going to go back to zero? I mean, it's the same argument. You can use that same concept in any of them. It's everyone's speculating. We know, based on what we were just talking about, Saudi Arabia and the UAE are looking at their digital currency opportunities and potential on a distributed ledger technology, and then you have others that are investing. What was it? Brazil and another country that are just now rolling out their digital currency built on the Stellar platform, and then we've seen others that are working in that space, blockchain, some completely centralized digital currencies, but we're seeing that trend, right, Chip?
Yeah, well, XRP, I think you make some really good points there, Jeff. Also XRP wasn't designed to be 50 cents or $3 or $5. It's not part of the design. It's like, and Rain brought up something earlier saying that here it is right here. It's like Ripple's going after all the money in the world. They are going after all the money in the world because that's what they want to be behind and be able to push it. So even with all these CBDCs we're hearing about, they're lacking interoperability, and that's something that XRP brings. But again, we talked about multiple use cases, and if you look at, I remember having $280 Bitcoin, right? And there were people saying back then that there's no way it's going to break 500. Then it was 1,000. Then there's no way it's going to ever go past 5,000. And then when it hit 20,000, you had major FOMO, and you remember the bull run that sparked. So you got to remember this too. Less than 1%. It's more like 0.5 a percent of the population that are actually in the digital assets. This is worldwide. I mean, you guys know about this, right? You're savvy. You know about it. You've been around it for a while. You just kind of feel like, hey, everyone kind of knows about it. No. Nobody knows about this yet. You are early adopters. I mean, we're self-custodying on a thumb drive. I mean, that's how pathetic. That's how early we are right now. It's going to grow and it's going to mature as an industry. But you have to remember that as new money flows in, when you start seeing Bitcoin hit 30, 40,000, when you're coming in and you're just like, I would call it more like an average Joe, but you come in, you go like, hey, I got 5,000. Should I buy a fractional Bitcoin? Now it's going to 45 or 50. Or, hey, look at this over here, this shiny object over here. It's XLM, it's HBAR, it's VET, it's XRP, right? It's like you can get in and still feel pretty good about it. So that's one of the reasons I feel like Yeah, that's also too, G's right on that. I wouldn't rule anything out in crypto. And just look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin has outperformed the S&P 500 10 years. This is a digital asset that they say, well, it's crashed more times than the stock market. It has, but it's also outperformed the stock market. So, we got to keep an eye on this thing. Look, it's speculative. We always say, on this channel, Jeff and I always say, don't invest more than you're not willing to lose. Look, I mean, you're not going to sit there and bet the farm on it, but you can do that too if you want. You can put everything you want into it. Yeah, check this out. So this is a good one here. Tony Morissette. Raul Paul says, I have a sell-in order tomorrow. Sell all my gold to scale to buy Bitcoin and Ether. I don't own anything else. Yeah, he doesn't, but all of a sudden, but Raul Paul's been skewed a lot recently by the BTC maxi crowd. Why? Because he has said positive things recently about XRP. Like, I'm starting to really get it. I'm starting to understand it. But he's like, put his hand up. But just know that I don't own any yet. But he's basically saying that he's before, and he was on this channel. He did an interview earlier in the year saying, about XRP. He was talking not pro XRP, but just talking positive and about the digital asset space. Yeah, Bitcoin was worth 5 cents. That's why you have 4 million will never be found again, because at 4 cents, 5, 6 cents, what Rain's pointing out here is you wouldn't even think about it. So you threw a computer away that had, 100,000, at a few cents. So that stuff's never going to be lost. That's why if you want to talk about how scarce Bitcoin is, it's way more scarce than you think. Why? Because you got the whales. They're not selling anytime soon. You got all the companies that bought in, right? So your universe of actual trading is going to be a couple million. And probably in the total it's ever mined, it'll probably be 15, 16, 17 million tops. The rest of it is lost. It was lost on hard drives. It was lost on, cold storage wallets. It was lost in Mt. Gox. It was lost somewhere along the line. Look at that, 63.4. There we go.
So, I mean, to that point, and that's where, with the, Russell, he said he says, I work for the SEC. Yeah. So, I think, if that's the case, I think it's really important, that, you look at the whole space. And it would be interesting, actually, if, Russell works for the SEC, to actually get feedback from Russell, in terms of, what his thoughts are on the whole space. It would be awesome to have him on the show, to have him come in if he's open to that and willing to come on and talk about, each, we can get into the different assets. But I think what's most important is to really look at the space in general. And really to get a good understanding, from his perspective, and try to understand, regulatory clarity. Does regulation, impact, not impact, and then dig in and also figure out, if that's the case, what is his perspective on the digital asset space in general? What is his focus? Does he believe in Bitcoin? Talking about Russell, so Russell, if you're open to it, you want to come on and talk about that, definitely reach out to us, and we'll go through that. But, but again, there was something else that had popped up that I got distracted on.
Was it SEC related? No,
it was not.
Hey, I'll ask Russell. What?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just say, when we look at the, if he works for the SEC, it'd be interesting in what capacity he works there, but I'm sure there's going to be some sort of insight at some point. So, I mean, I always think that it's kind of good. So I was just curious, Russell, what do you think about Jay Clayton kind of leaving early prior to his term expiring? And do you have any thoughts on who you might see replacing him? I'm wondering if Crypto Nod's going to get the tap on the shoulder and say you're in the game, so it'd be interesting to see sort of what happens there, to see if that's a possibility. But the thing about Jay Clayton was I felt like for 3 years, I mean, he just sat around not doing a whole hell of a lot. For 2 years, he never really talked about digital assets except to give the grumpy face on it. It's like, I don't like these digital assets. Like, look, you can't take back, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Bitcoin's been around for 11 years, and it's spawned this whole area. We're having this conversation. You guys are all in here talking with us because digital assets are here to stay. Now, yeah, you can do lots of things like was brought up earlier in the chat. You can tax them, you can do all kinds of stuff. But these privacy coins, people are always going to be figure out ways to subjugate whatever sort of fences that get put up. Someone's going to figure a way around it, under it, through it, you know. And so I do agree in some ways with Jay Powell. I do feel like when he said it's very complicated and we want to make sure we get it right. Look, getting it wrong out of the box has a lot of negative ramifications. So waiting for other countries, waiting for the UK to put their regulation, Europe put their regulations in, Japan. Now you've got some sort of you've got something, right? You've got some foundational stuff rather than trying to be first out of the box, not understanding it fully and making some mistakes. So I do see 2021 being a really big year, at least in the United States, as it has been in the UK and in Europe and other places, for regulation and clarity. I do feel like that's coming, and I do feel like you can't stop the train. I don't know. My thoughts, Jeff. What are yours?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I was trying to drill back and look for something. I think it was Sir John had mentioned this. We're talking about, even if, this space, let's say the SEC does decide that they're going to rule one way or the other on XRP as a security. We know they already gave some clarity on whether or not Bitcoin and Ethereum are securities. They say they're not. But one of the things that Sir John had said, there's a whole world out there. And there's a lot within the space, even in the UK, where they said XRP is not a security. And we're just focused on these top three. There's a lot of others in the space. But that's where it becomes really important whether, the US leads a lot of the market. We're in the US, so we're talking about it from a very US-centric perspective when it comes to whether or not we're going to see regulation and regulatory clarity in the space, and how that's going to impact our digital asset holdings, what the impact is going to be. But Sir John's focus, his point said, hey, you know what, if it doesn't, let's say the SEC, but the SEC isn't the end all be all for the rest of the world. I guess that was kind of the point,
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, the thing about it is that, it's frustrating. That's one of the reasons you see, I have to give Ripple a lot of credit, where credit's due, because, Brad Garlinghouse has been out there being very vocal. There's been a lot of other people inside of Ripple that have been very vocal, but as the leader of the company and really wanting to have the best, look, I mean, if you looked at, because of what's happened transpired over the last 9 months, you look at Brad Garlinghouse from where his position's been, right? Everyone's on lockdown. They were killing it in contracts, right? With new contracts, they're still getting onboarding. They're still onboarding two new ones, I think, every week or every other week, which is pretty good. But a lot of stuff's being done over Zoom. But he's been very vocal about it. They're taking out full page ads in the I think what was that, the New York Times. But you look everywhere else. Who's joining the fight? Is there anybody else? Everyone has a stake in this thing. The 1,000th coin is just as much staked on the fact that we need regulatory clarity. And when you have to have someone like Garlinghouse say, hey, we have to start thinking about moving. We have to figure out if we're going to go to Singapore. Are we going to go to Dubai? Are we going to go Japan potentially? Why? Because look, you can't hold your business back to the point of where you're hurting. Not only they've got their internal shareholders. They're not a public company, but there's a lot of people vested in it that are hoping for a really good outcome, and meanwhile they're hamstrung with their one hand tied behind the back, the other one in a handcuff, because there's no clarity. But I think all that's changing, Jeff. I'm very, very optimistic that in 2021 we're going to see some of that clarity we've been looking for. We have to. It's way past the time.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And that goes to this other question here. But to me, I don't want to even speculate on what Brad's asking here. Are we going to see, any clarity in the digital asset space impact stimulus check rollouts? I don't see how the two really tie together, but I don't see regulatory clarity happening by December 3rd either. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, Chip. I mean, I know there's some transition points, new people, kind of being moved into the different positions right now. That could potentially have a positive impact or a negative impact or no impact on the direction we're moving in? Does that impact stimulus rollout? I don't know. I don't know exactly how to, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, there's too many variables, like you said. There's too many things involved with that to kind of speculate on it. I mean, at the moment, nobody knows who the next leader of the country is going to be. So we got to kind of like start piecing things together one by one. But GDLT brought up something good where he doesn't see BTC or ETH on the ISO 222 standard body, and he's right about that.
There you go.
You know, we're not going to see
That's
BTC. We're not going to see BTC. We're not going to see Ethereum. So I don't think it's their strong points in there. But you're right. You're making a very good point there, G. I think that's a point well taken. Yeah. So and when you look at everything else, you go back to a lot of the things, the big events that have happened in and around Ripple, XRP, Garlinghouse going out it's been a year and a half already since he had a seat at the table with the largest, number one biggest banks in the world. And who's there? Brad Garlinghouse. Now, who's not going to be there is a BTC Maxi, right? Because that's open source. Nobody owns it. There is no body. But that's one of the things that I've always liked about Ripple. Ripple centralized, XRP decentralized. I like somebody guiding the ship because Jeb McCaleb's a little bit different in the sense that he set up the Stellar Foundation, you know, and hats off to it too. You know, I own XLM too. I mean, I think I've always been like bullish on both of them. It's just that I connect really largely because you got to remember and for anybody that's new, Ripple creates software. It started off as an install where you had to go in there and spend 3-4 weeks going in there installing stuff on their servers. But don't kid yourself. What they do is they have software that allows, in conjunction with XRP, allows you to move it, right? Anybody that's going to take, and you can do this in other ways, but banks have different regulatory guidelines that they need to follow. Now, last year they introduced the cloud version of it. The cloud is like pretty quick turnaround. It's like 10 weeks to 14 days to be able to install this. And they pay for that. You know, banks pay pretty heavy price to be on their, and again, I always lose track of what they're calling what the flavor of the week, but the liquidity, what's it called, Jeff? Help me out here.
What are we talking about?
Well, I'm just talking about RippleNet, the whole RippleNet thing.
Talking about the ODL?
I'm talking about ODL, but also it's the RippleNet. It's either messaging. There depends on what flavor you're using, but that's what we're talking about, rolling out these contracts. And then something magical happened about 8-10 days ago, where now we see the Bank of America logo showing up on Ripple's website because we were like, are they? Aren't they? They could be. They might be. We don't know.
Yeah, and there's been talk about that for a long time. Hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to Richter. Richter just came in here, as well as Alex Yeet. Good to see you guys in here. XDC, there you go. What do you think about?
So
talk about
Channing,
that.
Channing. So this is good. XDC is backed by Ripple and R3. Here's what it is. So you have R3, and R3 is not a fan. They've expressed this publicly so many times, but they do not like Ripple. Okay, but XDC, which is known as Zinfin, a very complementary type. It's not cross-border payments, but Corda is going to use XDC, which is run by R3. So that's a big deal, and it's also a big use case. Crypto Eddie broke this news about, I want to say maybe 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago by now. Yeah, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, where she had done an interview with the CEO of Zinfin, and he kind of let the cat out of the bag. So this is good news. And again, I mean, I immediately thought, hey, this would be a good thing to invest in, because I like XDC is a good buy right now. It's at 0.008 last time I checked. And everyone has that story where they go like, man, if I had only known about, XRP back in the day, and I could have bought it at 0.006 or 0.0006, right? And bought a bag. The bottom line is you don't know. It's all speculative. But I like the fact, and you bring up a good point, is the whole idea of the use case. And this has a use case here. So you got somebody who's really going to legitimately use it and is endorsing it. So there's something to that. Yep.
What do you think about this? Morton brought it back, talking about ETH, make some potential adjustments, changes with the ETH, but it becomes proof of stake. Does that make it a security?
I don't know. Trying to think of why would it make it a security? Because I mean, you have other proof of stake, right? Why would it necessarily become a security? I don't know. I don't necessarily know that I think it would. I mean, Jeff, what are your thoughts? I don't see how. But give me a scenario like where it could be in a proof of stake scenario.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how it would fit into there. I'm trying to really get a good understanding of it. I just thought I would put it up, but maybe some people can comment on it and we'll dig into it a little bit more. But I always go back to the Howey test to try to really identify, are you benefiting off of somebody else's work to make money, and that's what you're investing in. You're basically investing in somebody else. So that I think that's where, if you're investing in someone else, you're buying stock, then it has to meet the SEC regulation and standards and all of that. So based on the Howey test, always goes back to that court case back in the 40s with the orange grove, and this guy was selling off plots of his orange grove to raise money, and he told people, hey, you don't even have to come, you don't have to be here, you don't have to ever see an orange, I'll do all the work and I'll sell, and whatever is in your portion, you'll get a percentage of the orange sales from your portion. So he did that. That's how he ended up getting pulled in front of the SEC, and the rest is history. And now you have the SEC test, which is what is there to determine whether or not, that's just one of the tests, but that's the big one that they leverage everything on. So if you can imagine, it always goes back to it. Here we are talking about digital assets, proof of stake, Bitcoins, and all these things. And the test that they use is a super basic test, but it goes back to an orange grove from the 40s. But this is also based on laws that are on the book, security laws from 1933 and 1934. So imagine we're talking about ancient law, that Chip, you brought it up earlier when we were talking about all this stuff. There's kind of a little bit of a lack of intersect, and they need to update some of it to be more applicable to where we're at today with these digital assets. They never predicted these types of things.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, I think the other issue, we're going through another transformative state as well. It used to be back in the 1970s, if you were an attorney, prominent, like knowing the law and knowing ins and outs around knowing case law and all that worked out very well if you were going to go ahead and run for Congress. Whether it was on the House side or the Senate side, it would bode very well. But here's the problem. The problem is you got an aging population, and we don't have what we need more of are technologists, because there's so much tied to any country. And this, everyone has their own Congress and their parliaments or whatever it may be. The problem, we all have the same problem. We have these dinosaurs who don't even understand, what's a Facebook? My grandkids send me pictures on that Facebook. They don't really know, they don't know anything about it. And the problem is we need to start transitioning more into technology. We have to start getting back to, in this country, it used to be that you would run for office, and the reason being was you go serve your country. It wasn't supposed to be a lifelong gig. It wasn't supposed to be getting paid $175,000 a year for your life. It was to go out there and serve your country. Hey, I'm going to go represent the people in my backyard, and I'm going to go to Washington and fight for them. It's turned into something, and this is similar in a lot of other countries. So if that's not our focus, then how are we taking our eye off the ball, going back to the Howey test and going back to legislation, which doesn't serve us well anymore? That's
right, exactly. Which goes back to the need for the token. Here's the beef. Goes back to the need for the Token Taxonomy Act, and wonder what's going to happen as we move into the next Congress and see what can happen. Is Warren Davidson and Darren Soto going to try to resurrect the Token Taxonomy Act once again? It seems like every Congress for the past number, they keep resurrecting it and trying to push it in, but we're getting a lot closer there to the need. So, what is that? What is that website? What is that? Twitter?
Yeah, so you can follow us on _the_ chain. It's what was available, people. We had to take it. I think the guy that owns @OnTheChain has one. I think he signed up like 9 years ago, and he has like one follower. Some serious. That's the other thing. You can do all this kind of squatting. Hey, do you think Ripple taking profits from MoneyGram because they know stock crash is coming? No, I think it's a great way to raise money. My personal opinion of that is that SEC filing that they had, a lot of people said, oh, they're buying money. They thought they were going to buy MoneyGram. And really what it turned out to be was, no, they're selling off some of the stock. But I think they bought in pretty early. It might have been between $2 and $3 maybe. And then you have it go to 7, 8. So if you can sell off some of that, it's a great way to take a little bit of profit from that. But again, you got to look at the way they took stock in it, which they're going to sell off. But I mean, their main benefit of investing in MoneyGram wasn't to try to really initially make any money off it. I think the big thing that the reason they were investing was to save this company. I mean, MoneyGram has been in a lot of trouble. You look at their all-time high, and their stock was in the 200 plus range, maybe even 300. So coming down from that, yeah, they invested. But if you look at the disclosures, they've been putting money in the form of XRP for them to be able to do it. So we watched it. You know, I remember people touting that at $1.10, $1.15, $1.20. I was, you know, able to buy in under $2. So you go up to $8, just 4x your money.
It's freaking nice. Huh.
That's a pretty nice gain, right? It's a very nice gain. So, you know, listen, I think they're spot on about this. I don't know, Jeff, your thoughts about this, about the whole. I don't think it's about stock crashing. I think it's a nice way to sell off a little bit, get out, peacefully get out, because that wasn't their intention, was to be involved with the company.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. You know, they bought in, they did whatever they needed to do, and they need to slowly get back out of it. Sure. You know, I think, you know, they got in that $1 range or $2 range, I forget whatever their agreement was, but they've been pushing millions and millions of dollars over to them in form of XRP as part of it, because they also needed to push through the utility of the ODL using MoneyGram, and I think MoneyGram is a perfect solution for that. You know, and so, you know, how can we guess exactly what their plans are? I don't know. You know, there's a lot of different perspectives on it over here, but you can also then, one of the speculations out there is whether or not Ripple has been applying for and going for an IPO. You know, I don't know.
Well, look, I wanted to share this right here. I just pulled this up. Let me see if I got the right one. I do, right? So I was basically saying, if you look at, this is MoneyGram right here. So MoneyGram, look at their all-time high. I want to stick it on the max here. But their all-time high, look at this, $244. That was 2006, 14 years ago. But you can see that it's hit that before, you know.
When did it tank?
Now, back then, well, here's where it tanked. Yep, 2008. But you got to remember what they were doing. They were buying mortgage-backed securities. They were divesting a lot of their money in the wrong type of projects. They were very fluid with cash back here, and then once you see how it started like funneling, and they went down, boom. But then they went down to $9. You think, oh, that's not bad. Well, great. Guess what? So look along the lines here. $1.45 in 2019. There you go, back $1.50. This is in April, right? So you could have picked it up at $1.50 and it hit 8 something. I think, what was the high? I know it hit 8. I don't see it there.
Ripple bought in around $4.
About $4. So boom, they doubled their money then.
And, you know, and that's what I think. I think back and forth between what DNI is saying and Channy, it's healthy to sell a moderate amount of the shares. It depends on what their overall strategy is. They need to get it off their books also. We're coming up on, I don't know if they're closing out their year, you know, so I don't know if they need to move some things in and out, or, you know, who knows? I mean, companies do that all the time, you know, so I don't know what we can speculate on their move, you know, what it really means. Yeah, I don't know.
Look at this right here. Channing saying, I'm kicking myself. Well, don't kick yourself too hard, because you know what? We've all been in that boat at some point where you go, well, yeah, I owned Apple at 9. Okay, I can kick my too. You know, we've all been there. Look, the bottom line, the best you can, analyze what you can right now. Don't beat yourself up about it. And if you ever took profit, look, you got to feel good about it, because it's really easy to lose money in the stock market. It's really easy to lose money trading crypto. I mean, some people are very good at it, but don't beat yourself up too hard, because there's always going to be, I coulda, woulda, shoulda. It's about, what are you doing now? We just talked about XDC is at 0.008. I bought it at 0.006. It was 2 weeks ago. I mean, you know, is it a big rush? No, it's not that big of a deal. Bottom line is, it's going in the right way. It's the sort of right direction. So I always look at, you know, it's like if I bought in around $280 on Bitcoin and sold it off when it hits 800, you think, oh, I made money. But you don't feel so great when it hits 20K. So you never know. And sometimes things haven't proved themselves out. So there's always that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Logan is saying here too. Don't think about what you miss. Appreciate what you've made. You can't you can never really look back. And then once
Yeah.
you sell, you also have to be good about it and never look back.
Right. Well,
You
that's kind
say,
of what I was saying, but
I
in a
took
really
my
bad
$5
way.
profit. Yeah, you take your $5 profit and be happy with it. You made, whatever it was. You make $5, $100, $1 million. Just be happy with your transaction, whatever it was. Otherwise, because one of the biggest mistakes that I see people do anywhere, and all of us have probably been guilty of it at some point, stock market, digital asset, whatever, is buying emotionally, and then and selling emotionally. If you're buying emotionally, you're buying because of hype, you're buying because you think, whatever it might be. But sometimes as you've done your analysis, you're kind of understanding the space and you have a gut feeling about it, right? You're like, I just know that this is what's going to happen. But otherwise, you're acting out of fear or just whatever it might be, and you sell too soon, or you're trying to time the market, which you can never do. Timing the market is almost, is always a losing proposition. That's what, even the best technical analysis guys, they're not always 100% on. And then they're leveraging and diversifying their portfolio into multiple stocks. So you might lose, you might lose 30, 40%, but you're going to win 60%. If you're winning 60%, you're still ahead, but you've diversified your buys and your sells. So you're kind of leveraging your gains and losses a little bit better, So I don't know. There's just so much more to it.
That's a good point. Morton says, hey, you could have also invested in Kodak or Nokia in 2006, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You could have invested in GM. There's a lot of things you could have invested in. So, yeah, there's always that flip side, too. I think that's why, look, I always tell people, they go like, new people come to me a lot, especially a lot of friends now are starting to reach out saying, hey, you've been talking about this damn crypto for as long as I can, and they didn't want to have anything to do with it. But I say, look, do a little bit of research. That always a little bit like off-putting. I said, read through some stuff, go on there, read about the company, and see if you connect with it, because ultimately, if somebody is like rewiring the world to do something really evil, I'm not connecting with that. But if I find out there's something good going on out there, or I go like, wow, I can see that there's a use case for this, or I think this makes sense, or I think they've proven that there's a potential, then that's something different, right?
That's right.
Remove my emotions, that's for sure. It's sure. Thanks, TJ. It sure has done that. It's also stripped us of all that goodwill and all that stuff, right?
And all the other things that go along with it.
Yeah, all those fun things. But I mean, what I like to see, and even right now, even with this little bit of a run, what's been really awesome for Jeff and I to see, it was great seeing new folks in here. It's great that we've had so many people that have followed us from the beginning. So this is so appreciative of Jeff and I to think about all the people that have been there since the beginning, and watching new people come in, ask questions, have us thinking too. I mean, look, we're not experts by any way. So what we do here is we bounce stuff off each other. We learn together. We go through things. We're like kind of like moderators, but you guys are some of the smartest people out there. You guys make these kind of shows that we do phenomenal, the live streams, because you guys bring a lot of good knowledge and a lot of great questions that we all can ponder.
That's right. And I just want to point this out because Tony pointed out 86 minutes in the stream, Chip. You missed the hour mark, but that's okay. But we're 86 minutes into it. We are going, we're flowing. Great conversation. Amazing people in here with us tonight, which is awesome. But you didn't go off topic, which is great.
Well, we also stayed on topic on Wednesday. We also did we had a great crowd there too. Wednesday, we had a really fine, conversation going on too. And Jeff and I can tend to go off topic, but I think we've been really drilling down and just loving, a lot of the folks coming in here and really sticking around crypto because, it's easy to go off topic, but I just think that you guys drive a lot of the shows too. Jeff and I come in here sometimes with an agenda. Sometimes we never get to the stuff because something else comes up, but you got to be a little bit open to some free flow and get some stuff like Sir John right now. Here's Sir John right here. It's 3:30 a.m. You want to talk about loyal? You want to talk about somebody bringing it? 3:30 in the morning. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be up. But you know what? Yeah. He's always on our streams. He's always bringing good value. We have people from all over the world coming in here. And, it's what makes this stream really fantastic. Connie coming in here. The world. Connie's saying, go to sleep, Sir John. She's pulling the mama card and saying, you better get
Sir John, What Sir John hasn't told us is that he works the night shift. So.
Yeah, that's the other thing he hasn't told us, but
Probably not, but it's amazing, Chip. I agree. We get people on here from all over. Tony, 2:30 a.m. where Tony Fisk is. So we got Sir John awake. We got Tony Fisk awake. I don't know if Michael Atu is still in here. We got people in here from Australia. We got people in here from Thailand. People from all over the world. And that's what the digital asset crypto space is all about. Yes. And it's awesome having you guys all here, part of the On the Chain community, because it's awesome. Everyone's learning from each other, and it's great. You know, a lot to see as we move forward. But for Richter, it's 9:30. He's I guess you're on the same time zone as we are as well. So 9:30. That's awesome.
It is awesome. So I think with that being said, thank you everybody. Really appreciate you guys coming in here, supporting the channel. We're gonna try to do a little more live streams. Jeff and I have been really enjoying the just the love, the questions. I mean, coming in here, you make us think. We've been enjoying it. So maybe we'll hit another one on Wednesday. We'll do a live
that'd
stream.
Be cool.
So
yeah, that'd be really cool.
Around the same time,
yeah,
and then of course.
Yeah.
Of course, Jeff is on every Saturday morning, which is good too, because sometimes like people from Australia join, and it's already like 11:30, 11:30 there. So there we are, 63 people.
63. Look at that. The one thing that's great about XRP is when it gets to a certain point, no volatility.
There you go.
See how long we can keep that 63 cents going. Maybe the next 3 years.
Who knows? Awesome. I don't know. I don't like that. But anyway, listen, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. You can always go to onthechain.io. It'll have a bunch of ways, the easiest ways to access our videos. Legendary, thank you for being here. Justin, thank you to Just in Time. I love that. Just in Time. That's beautiful.
Just in time.
Just in time. I love that.
You made it here just in time.
Just in time. Great for you to be in here. Really appreciate everybody else. Steve Willits, Choose You Over Days of Our Lives. That's not saying a lot, but okay, I'll take it. That's good. I mean, Days of Our Lives. I mean, like suns awesome. Through the hourglass of time. These are the days of our lives. Holy cow! How do I know that, and why do I know it, Jeff? But I don't know. Anyway, say good night, Jeff.
Good night, Jeff.
Okay, you were gonna do that. Good night, Jeff.
That's awesome, man. It's so great seeing all these new people in here. Yeah, look forward to seeing everybody back on again. We're gonna try to get in here Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. And then every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Man, that's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. Three live streams. I'm going to start throwing some other videos on the other channel. We also have another channel, guys. If you're new here, down below in the link, we have another channel. That's all uploaded content. This is all live content. So we've kind of separated them. And we did that because of the algorithm. It's another topic for another conversation. But anyway, that's it. Thank you for being here. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Chip, Jeff, out. Out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.